It's a very sort of unfortunate, dark side of this community.
It's a crime like no other.
Car parts and body parts everywhere.
Unnecessary devastation.
This is the most preventable crime out there.
So many lives lost.
This crime is 28 people every single day.
Kern County, the hotbed.
We are number one on that list.
No one is safe.
DUIs are not at 2 a.m.
There is no time to drive where you are absolutely safe.
And if we don't do something,
people are going to die.
Brought to you by Cohn, Stiles, and Kern Schools Federal Credit Union. DUI, under the influence and on the road. An Eyewitness News investigation.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for DUI, Under the Influence and on the Road, an Eyewitness News investigation. I'm your host, Jeff Platt. Now, most of us don't think twice about getting in the car to go to work or church or the grocery store. But tonight I'm asking, what makes you feel so safe? Because the troubling reality is, in Kern County, every time you hit the road, you're putting your life in real danger.
Of the medium to large-sized counties in the state of California, you are more likely to die of a DUI-related crime in Kern County than any other county in the state of California.
That was Kern County Assistant District Attorney Jim Simpson, who has prosecuted almost every high-profile DUI case in his time with the prosecutor's office. He has a front row seat to every drunken tragedy that happens on our roads. And new statistics say we don't just have some of the most dangerous roads in California, but some of the deadliest in the entire country.
Lying awake at night trying to figure out why is Kern County so much worse than 141 counties that are, of similar size to Kern County, that has a population of 500,000 or more. Yeah, we're second. It is undeniable that those statistics are related in a strong way to criminality.
So the question you're probably wondering is, what is your risk of dying in a DUI crash here in Kern County? What is the chance that you will share the road with a drunk or high driver tonight? I set out to answer those questions for you. Every day in Kern County, thousands of drivers hit the road unsuspecting of the danger that could be around any corner. That danger is drunk drivers, a danger Carla Pearson is all too aware of.
Constantly, when I'm driving in town, I know what can happen. I see it on a daily basis.
Pearson founded the local Mothers Against Drunk Driving after her son Adam was killed in a drunk driving crash.
It's a feeling that no one wants to feel. Trust me on that one.
She can't believe 14 years later, she's still seeing so many people drive drunk. Neither can Assistant District Attorney Jim Simpson.
It's an enormous problem here.
According to Simpson, it's a problem getting worse. Last year was the most drunk, dangerous, and deadly year on Kern County roads in nearly a decade. Nearly 4,300 drunk drivers were arrested. A drop in the bucket, says Simpson.
That is such a small fraction of the number of DUI drivers that are actually out there.
So just how many drunk drivers are out there with you? I set out to answer that very question. Taking data from the DA, CDC, DMV, and Census Bureau, I built this equation. By my math, during the lunch hours, you're sharing Kern's roads with 15 drunk drivers. And at any given moment in the peak hours of midnight to 3 a.m., there are 77 drunk drivers on Kern's roads. Each one of them a tragedy waiting to happen.
When the driver of that vehicle ultimately loses control, people are going to die.
And those deaths aren't pretty.
When you arrive at a scene like that, the first thing that you're likely to say to yourself is that there's no way this could actually be a vehicle crash. It must be a plane crash or something, because you're seeing car parts and body parts everywhere.
Unfortunately, Simpson is seeing more and more of those crashes every year.
You are more likely to die of a DUI-related crime in Kern County than any other county in the state of California.
So now that you know how real this problem is and how badly it is plaguing Kern County, the question Simpson and Pearson have for you is, do you really think this can't happen to you?
Why would you want to take that chance? Isn't your family important to you as well? Because what would your family do without you?
Now, you may think you know exactly who is driving impaired and what segment of society is to blame for this ongoing problem, But you're probably wrong. I analyzed 30 years of DUI data to pinpoint the average impaired driver here in Kern County, and over the last several years, the driver's age, race, and even gender have all changed.
Everybody knows that this crime is dangerous. Everybody does.
Drunk driving is a choice plaguing Kern County, a choice Assistant District Attorney Jim Simpson says is as bad as planning a murder.
You're not driving a car, you're loading a weapon.
Still, every day, a lot of people choose to have a few drinks and load that weapon.
They have absolutely no idea of just how many DUI drivers are out there on the roads with them.
On average, every day in Kern County, 11 of those people are caught and arrested. So what do those people look like? Who are the people choosing to make our communities and our roads dangerous places? Looking at decades of Kern County DUI data, we can say the average drunk driver is young. Since 1992, drivers 18 to 30 have committed more DUIs than all other age groups combined. We can also see most drunk drivers are men. Since 1986 in Kern County, 86% of drunk drivers were men. However, recently, women are catching up. Since 2011, women have been arrested in 20% of DUIs. Lastly, we looked at race. For the last several years, white people are arrested for DUI more than any other race in Kern County, but not by much. Basically, whites, Hispanics, and African Americans each commit a third of Kern County DUIs.
Move it left to right, right to left.
But no matter how old they are, what gender they are, or what color their skin is, Simpson says all drunk drivers have one thing in common.
I think it's something that the public needs to know. They need to understand it on a deep, visceral level. This is a crime that is committed by people who simply don't care.
And while I was looking at that data, I saw people getting arrested for DUI in their 90s, and also saw the average age of DUI drivers growing, showing us that this is a habit people just aren't aging out of. They're almost likely to do it for life or until something terrible happens. When we come back,
you're at a .163, which means you're twice the legal limit.
It's a crime that doesn't discriminate. They indiscriminately cause injury and death.
an up-close look at how police catch drunk drivers and the hurdles they face, plus why those same drivers end up back on the road again.
Sometimes you want to just put duct tape around your head because it just is going to explode because it's just mind-boggling.
Also, I'll break down one of the worst DUI myths of all time, why victims are going broke.
Put me on a ventilator. 400,000 plus. I just open it and forget about it because I can't pay it.
For years, Kern Schools Federal Credit Union has been the local choice to meet your financial needs. And just because we're local, you can still take us wherever your travels or life may be. That's right. From online and digital banking to mobile check deposit, Kern Schools is always a tap away. And did you know banking at Kern Schools gives you access to over 30,000 ATMs nationwide, more than any big national bank can offer? Download the Co-op ATM Locator app to find an ATM near you. See, we're local, but we're local everywhere. Kern Schools. Together, we have something special.
You probably don't need a full team of professionals all the time, but if you get injured in an accident, you do. Cohn, Stiles, the team of lawyers you need when it matters most.
No one is safe.
DUIs are not at 2 a.m.
There is no time to drive where you are absolutely safe.
And if we don't do something,
people are going to die.
Brought to you by Cohn, Stiles and Kern Schools Federal Credit Union. DUI, under the influence and on the road. An Eyewitness News investigation.
And welcome back to this Eyewitness News investigation, DUI under the influence and on the road. As I showed you before the break, drunk drivers are everywhere in Kern County, and data suggests for most, driving drunk is a habit. They've done it before, and they will do it again. Here's the issue. In California, a drunk driver gets a second chance, a third chance, and in many cases, a fourth chance before they ever do real jail time. In between those chances, they're on the road with you. 6 years ago, husband and father Taylor Embry left the house for work. It was the last time he'd ever see his wife and son again. As Taylor drove down Comanche, he was hit by a drunk driver.
He was going 90 miles an hour through a corner and never even applied his brakes when he hit Taylor head on.
Taylor's wife, Brittany, recalled the tragic day for me.
This man in like the big corner leather jacket walks in, and he had Taylor's driver's license clipped on his clipboard and just said, "Your husband's been killed by a drunk driver."
But this man who killed Taylor wasn't just any drunk driver. He was a repeat offender with 2 DUIs already on his record.
Makes you angry to think, if this was not the first time, why was he out driving?
I opened up. To get an answer to that question, I sat down with Kern County Deputy District Attorney Kim Richardson.
To handle all of the cases where someone is seriously injured by DUI or someone is killed.
According to Richardson, cases like Taylor's are far too common. She blames state laws, which allows someone to get 3 DUIs before they get a felony, and even then, they aren't seeing jail time.
A lot of times with 4th-time DUIs, even if it's a felony, they still will do work release, which is like picking up trash, things like that. They're not really spending any time in custody.
Richardson tells me state laws even allow drunk drivers who kill someone to walk away with a slap on the wrist. She remembers one case in particular when an impaired driver hit a pregnant woman.
Both she and her baby passed, and he was ultimately sentenced to 2 years.
Needless to say, people like Taylor Embry are dying at the hands of people who break the law repeatedly and aren't locked up until it's too late, causing their loved ones to believe the system is broken. But what do those in charge of the system think?
I would hope that Sacramento would be listening. I just don't know if that's a reality, given that the state of our state is they are trying to remove people from the prison population and allow people to get out.
So while the criminals continue not to pay for their crimes, the victims do pay. In Taylor's case, the ultimate price, leaving his wife untrusting of the system, and without hope things will improve, which is why she wants lawmakers to remember this about every drunk driver they set free.
It's really like playing Russian roulette, and it's only a matter of time.
And here's an example of a matter of time catching up to a habitual drunk driver. Vincent Marioki killed Raylene and Reagan Sorensen, a mother and daughter from Taft, on his 4th DUI. Last month, 2 years after the deadly crash, Marioki was found guilty of second-degree murder. Now, the reason why Marioki was convicted for murder or even charged with murder can all be traced back to one Bakersfield woman. You saw her earlier in one of my other segments. Carla Pearson, she took her pain and turned it into action to help families like hers get justice. Every day in the United States, 28 people are killed by a DUI driver. 17 years ago, Carla Pearson's son, Adam, was one of those 28.
I couldn't fix the crash. I couldn't fix having Adam come back. I couldn't fix anything there.
But Pearson found something she could fix. The laws that allowed someone with 3 DUIs to kill her son on their 4th DUI.
The system had just allowed it to just continue to happen over and over and over again.
Carla's effort created these 3 sentences, the Watson admonition, read to every DUI driver in California. It says in part, if you continue to drive while under the influence of alcohol or drugs or both, and as a result of that driving, someone is killed, you can be charged with murder.
I think most individuals don't naturally equate the crime of driving under the influence with murder.
Assistant District Attorney Jim Simpson will tell you Watson is a massive help to put DUI drivers in prison because their signature is proof that they know what they're doing is wrong.
Not only is he aware of it because everyone is aware of it, but he's aware of it because he signed it under penalty of perjury, or because a judge read him the admonition the last time.
According to Simpson, the admonition is the reason so many DUI drivers are charged with murder. The document gives prosecutors a confidence that has provided a path to justice for hundreds of California families. But Carla Pearson says it's done even more than that.
You know, we talk about how many families did the law help. We need to go look at it even in a different way. How many lives did we save?
Pearson believes when people learn they can be charged with murder, it scares them straight. She knows for a fact her work has put many drunk drivers behind bars. But that is not enough. Carla is saving lives, and there's still so many that still need saving.
I'm just never going to give up. I'm going to be an old lady in a walker, and I'm still fighting this fight because it's just close to my heart. It's important.
So now that we've explained why DUI drivers, even repeat offenders, are allowed on the road over and over again, let's take a look at the people trying to catch them. I rode along with a Bakersfield police officer on the night shift, and even though we caught a drunk driver, the question you should be asking is how many did we not catch?
1-2, 10-10. My job as a traffic officer is to keep the road safe.
Traffic officer Robert Tayo works the overnight shift. Every night he drives the streets of Bakersfield searching for drunk drivers. Sometimes it's like finding a needle in a haystack.
There's thousands of drivers on the road at any time, and it's just a matter of pulling over the right car and trying to prevent that next tragedy.
Other times it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
I've had to arrest 6 people for DUI, and that's in one 10-hour shift.
On the Wednesday I rode with Tayo, it was a haystack night.
White Chevy SUV.
After a few hours, we found this vehicle.
Jeez.
The driver slammed the brakes when we pulled him over for getting on the road with his headlights off.
I got a question for you. How much have you had to drink tonight? No. Nothing? Okay.
Can I see an additional unit in code 4?
While we waited for backup, I asked Tayo if he believed the driver.
I smell the alcohol. He's got red eyes, slurred speech. He won't make eye contact, stuff like that.
Once the other officers were on scene, the tests began.
I want you to lift that leg 6 inches off the ground in front of you. What I'd like you to do is follow the tip of my pen with your eyes and eyes only. Don't move your head. Heel to toe down an imaginary line without stopping.
The driver didn't follow Tayo's test instructions, nor does he display tremendous balance or coordination. So we moved to the next test.
Keep going, blow harder, blow harder, blow
The breathalyzer.
Blow harder. Okay, you're at a .163, which means you're twice the legal limit. You're currently under arrest for DUI.
The driver is arrested. This is one of the good outcomes.
Every DUI that I arrest that's just out driving around, who knows what could have happened? They could have hurt themselves, another. They could have killed someone. I don't know.
That alternate ending happens all the time here in Kern County. A reality traffic sergeant, Jeff Sasso, understands.
Unfortunately, there's some instances we're not going to catch every person who's driving under the influence. It's a fact of life.
Sasso says BPD is doing everything to catch drunk drivers, things like checkpoints, saturation patrols, and having every officer DUI trained. But the drunk drivers outnumber the police, and officers can't be everywhere at once. That's why Sasso is deputizing you.
So we hope that the motoring public is out, not only looking out for their safety, but the safety of other drivers.
For Sasso and Tayo, DUI is a community issue, and it's going to take a community to stop it.
Bakersfield 911.
A quick call with a location and a partial plate could be the difference between this ending and this ending. Now, from the time we pulled that driver over to the time we got him to booking was about 2 hours. Testing a driver for DUI is already a long process, and it keeps getting more complicated. Also, keep in mind, these days, cops aren't just looking for drunk drivers, but drivers who are high on drugs, too. So this year, BPD added a very important tool to help them do that. During a recent DUI checkpoint, the Bakersfield Police Department showed us some new tech.
The Draeger Drug Test 5000.
The Draeger is one of 2 the department got for free to be in a pilot program. The machine just needs a small sample of spit, and then
it detects the presence of certain drugs.
Amphetamines, opiates, cocaine, benzodiazepines, cannabinoids, and methadone. The Draeger does it all, but there is something it doesn't do.
What this machine absolutely does not do is tell us if somebody is high or the level of the drugs.
This means officers, just like when they use a breathalyzer, will still need to do all of the standard sobriety tests for drivers they test with the Draeger. But now, instead of waiting for blood or urine tests to come back from the lab, police can know on the spot what drugs a driver has in their system. So now you've seen the law enforcement side and the court side of the issue. But what if I told you for victims that's just the beginning? When we return.
She's got massive medical bills and little to no insurance to cover those bills. And that is oftentimes the new normal for victims in a DUI accident here.
I destroy the DUI victims get rich myth. Plus, I'll show you the only immediate solution to preventing impaired driving.
It's going to take them waking up and seeing that and deciding one day that we're not going to put up with it anymore.
You probably don't need a full team of professionals all the time. But if you get injured in an accident, you do. Cohn, Stiles, the team of lawyers you need when it matters most.
Kern Schools Federal Credit Union is here to be your lifelong financial partner. So while your financial life may start out with a Rocky Raccoon account, as you grow, we'll be with you every step of the way. From your first car and everyone thereafter, to investing in your family's future, to buying that special house you'll call home, Kern Schools is here to help. And if you live in Kern County, then you can bank with us. See, we're local just like you, so what we accomplish together benefits our entire community. Kern Schools, together we have something special.
No one is safe.
DUIs are not at 2 a.m.
There is no time to drive where you are absolutely safe.
And if we don't do something,
people are going to die.
Brought to you by Cohn, Stiles and Kern Schools Federal Credit Union. DUI, under the influence and on the road. An Eyewitness News investigation.
Welcome back once more to this Eyewitness News investigation, DUI, under the influence and on the road. It's a popular myth. Many people believe the victims of DUI crashes go to court and get rich. Not only is this not true, it's miles away from the truth. A combination of old insurance laws, minimal enforcement of those laws, and rising costs of medical care have created a new normal where DUI crash victims who don't pay with their lives end up paying in cash. September 12th, 2014 started off a great day for Ashley Hampton. She was getting ready for her first day at Ridgecrest Regional Hospital. It was the next step towards her dream job.
They were going to pay for my schooling to become an RN.
But the day that started with so much promise ended in disaster.
First day we were moving, first day of my new job, first day of the car payment, and I never made it.
Ashley actually did make it to the hospital, but as a patient. On her way to work, a drunk driver hit her, causing Ashley's car to roll twice, putting her in a coma.
It took me 4 days to get off the ventilator.
Waking up was just the first step in Ashley's recovery. A broken wrist, broken leg, broken back, broken hip, and crushed foot made her bedridden for 4 months. The drunk driver who hit her had no insurance, so the medical bills kept piling up. Before she knew it, Ashley was on the hook for over $400,000.
I just open it and forget about it, because I can't pay it.
To find out how often victims are not only hurt by the crime, but then suffer the financial burden too, I sat down with personal injury lawyer Matt Clark.
Over 16 years now, I've represented countless victims in drunk driving crashes.
Clark tells me Ashley's case isn't rare at all. It's actually becoming the new normal.
Defendants in drunk driving cases oftentimes either have no insurance or far too little insurance to cover an injury or, God forbid, a death.
According to Clark, there's two major issues at play. The first is because insurance companies and the DMV don't communicate, it's too easy to drive without insurance. The other issue is minimum coverage rates in California barely cover an ambulance ride.
California has some of the lowest minimal insurance policy limit requirements in the country. They need to be raised. You know, $15,000 worth of coverage covers nothing. It literally covers nothing.
But there is something you can do right now to protect yourself. You can get or raise your uninsured, underinsured coverage limit to $100,000. It'll cost you about $40 a month, but it'll protect you if the driver hits you as the minimum coverage or no coverage at all. Now physically unable to perform her dream job and struggling with PTSD, it's a lesson learned too late for Ashley, but she's happy to be alive and is hopeful others can learn from her tragedy.
The freaking out and all the bills that I have to pay, I wouldn't want anybody to go through that when it's 100% preventable.
It should be clear by this point in our program that there are many problems with this system. Victims seem to pay far more than impaired drivers do. It's almost impossibly hard to get even the worst repeat offenders off the streets, and above all, even in an age where getting a ride is so easy, people continue to drive impaired. While most solutions to this problem would take huge government action, there is something we can all start doing right this very moment to stop this needless crime. Make the right choice. Prosecutors, victims, police officers, and injury attorneys will all tell you the same thing about impaired driving.
This is the most preventable crime out there.
It's 100% preventable.
It's 100% preventable.
It's 100% preventable.
This is 100% preventable.
It is so preventable.
Preventable as it may be, people keep doing it, and families like the Benjes keep paying the price.
The memory that's burned in my memory bank forever is I saw my wife take her last breath.
Michael Benje's wife was killed by a drunk driver while his family was on their way home from a trip to the lake. He had to raise 3 daughters on his own, helping to pick out all 3 wedding dresses.
You know, it's heartbreaking because their mother should have been there to do those things. And just by some really awful choices, that was taken away forever.
So what can we do to prevent more stories like Benje's? Many suggest stiffer penalties, forcing impaired drivers to do serious jail time. But prosecutor Kim Richardson says that's unlikely.
The state of our state is they are trying to remove people from the prison population and allow people to get out.
If DUI drivers aren't going to jail, the general public needs to be protected in another way. Personal injury attorney Matt Clark suggests changing outdated insurance laws to ensure victims don't pay for the actions of impaired drivers.
You got to show proof that you now have $100,000 worth of insurance before we're going to give you your driver's license, because you've already committed a felony, right? And I don't understand why that hasn't happened.
Since minimum insurance laws in California haven't changed since they were adopted in 1984, it's unlikely this will happen. So we turn to law enforcement. Sergeant, how do we make DUI enforcement more proactive instead of reactive?
Starts at home. It's incumbent upon us to be good friends and family by not allowing our friends to drive drunk.
The sergeant's right. We have the chance to stop an impaired driver before they ever become a driver, which brings us to the only solution Assistant District Attorney Jim Simpson says can start right now. All of us deciding to make the right choice and help others make the right choice.
It's going to take them waking up and seeing that and deciding one day that we're not going to put up with it anymore. And when that happens, then we'll really start to see a change.
So the next time you're faced with that choice, Benj wants you to think of something before you make the wrong choice.
So many people say, well, I didn't think it would happen to me, or that'll never happen to me. And I'm here to tell you that it happens way too often. And you would not want to be in my shoes to watch your spouse, your loved one, take their last breath.
Michael, Ashley, Brittany, Carla, all of their stories are sad, sure. But more importantly, their stories are typical. These aren't extreme cases or rare happenings. There are thousands of stories just like theirs all across our city, our county, our state, and our country. Right now, on our roads, as we speak, people are drunk or high and behind the wheel. That's the harsh reality we live in. But there is hope. It won't happen overnight, and it won't happen all at once. But we can change our community if starting today, you pledge not to drive impaired and to stop your friends and family from driving impaired. It may not seem like a lot compared to what a huge problem this is, but I assure you it's at least one big step in the right direction. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Eyewitness News and BakersfieldNow.com, bringing you more. More local news, 8.5 hours, every weekday on KBAK-CBS and Fox 58.